Hey, it's Brock here from Rock Hill Farms, and today we're just going to have a little conversation about buying equipment and my perspective on a few different categories in terms of, paying more for a name brand. Is that worth it? We're going to talk about some hand tools and power tools all the way up to lawnmowers and tractors. And I'm also going to talk about the integrity that has to come along with an online or sponsored product review. And as usual, this is responding to comments. And it's the kind of thing where I could say, this comment's coming from a hater, just ignore that. But I kind of feel like if there's an elephant in the room with me, I'm going to call it out, say what I think, and then you guys can react however you feel about it. So the first thing I want to say is, you guys don't need me to tell you what to buy or what not to buy, and that's not what I'm trying to do. A lot of you guys have more experience than me and know more than me, and I respect your opinions, and you're intelligent enough to decide what you want and what you don't, and what's worth your money and what's not. But I think I'm in a very cool position, and other people who do what I do, we're in a unique position, and we need to use that in an intelligent way. And what I mean by that is, I have the opportunity to get access to a lot of different types of equipment and share my reactions and my experiences. And I'm not expecting that to be the gospel, that I said something's good, so now that means it's good. That's one point of information that you can put in your memory bank on that and say, I'm going to measure this against what my neighbor said and what happened to me 10 years ago. And I'm going to put a little asterisk next to what Brock said because maybe he doesn't know, or maybe he was paid to say that, or whatever it is. And what I try to focus on is telling the truth as far as I know it. So let's talk about tools for a minute. Now, this part of the conversation came from a couple comments that I got that said they didn't like me pushing the Vevor products all the time. So I've made 1,100 videos, and like 6 of them were about Vevor products. So it's a very small sample size, but they just happened to come all at once. And it's not going to be, this isn't going to become the home shopping network for Vevor. But here's what I know, and what I'll tell you as a matter of fact. If I have a job I need to get done, let's say right now I want to put concrete in here, and a company contacts me and says, we'll give you a bunch of tools for doing concrete work. I'm going to take those tools because I need to do the job, and I'm doing this for a living, and if I can save the money. Now, where it comes into a problem is that if they say, we'll give you these tools, but you need to make this video on this day, and this needs to be the title, and you're not allowed to use any other company's products, and have a bunch of stipulations, then I'm going to say that's not worth it. I'll buy my own tools or I'll work with another company. But I think a video like that provides value to you. You can see what I'm doing, you can see my experience with those tools, and it's just one more piece of information that you can keep in mind if you ever need that same tool. So with Vevor, I've had a few comments, and these are not negative comments. I consider these positive comments. I've had a couple people tell me that they bought a Vevor such and such and something on it broke, and then they told me their personal experience with customer service when they contacted Vevor to tell them about the problem. That is adding information that people can use to make a decision. And those are positive comments. So, Vevor, I put in a certain category of tool suppliers. And I've compared them in the past to Harbor Freight, which is like on the other end of that spectrum, on just like a hand tool or a power tool or something. Let's say you want to choose Milwaukee or DeWalt as like a premium tool that cost more. So I was looking at a tool. I actually have a new tool here that showed up yesterday from Vevor that's going to help me cut up the pipe that I've got pulled out of the weeds down there. I pulled that pipe out. I asked you guys, what's the best way to cut this pipe up? It's thick. I've got a bunch of it. What's the easiest way to do it? And I took your suggestions, and Vevor gave me a tool that's going to do that job, I hope. and we'll find out if they make a good tool. So when they told me they would give me that, I started looking up prices, and they had a cordless version and a corded version. The cordless was I'm mixed up now. The cordless was like $150, and the corded was $170. And that might be a little bit off, but it's close enough for the conversation. So then I looked up the premium brands. I looked at Milwaukee, and their two versions of that were $330 and $380. And as a consumer, I'm going to ask myself, which one of those tools is probably better? Well, I've never used either of them, but based on my past experiences and the fact I don't know about the other company that sourced their product through Vevor here, I'm going to say the Milwaukee is probably a better product. But then I'm going to say, I'm like you guys. I've got kids and grandkids and a truck payment and a house payment and insurance and a phone bill and a water bill and all of those things. And someday I'd like to pay for retirement. And let's say, do I want to buy the best of everything every time? There's a saying that says, buy once, cry once. Buy a tool that will last you your whole life and you'll come out money ahead in the long term. But sometimes you got a product and you say, man, I don't have any money to spend on this, a project. I pulled that pipe out, like I didn't have it in my monthly budget that I was going to spend money on tools to cut that pipe up. And I want to do it as economically as possible, providing that the tool isn't just junk that doesn't work or breaks. And that's why I shop at Harbor Freight. For years, I don't go buy wrenches from Lowe's or Home Depot, or I certainly am not getting Snap-on tools or anything like that. I'm going to Harbor Freight every time. Well, I didn't know about Vevor. I've been checking them out. I think they're a pretty darn good comp in terms of value. And sometimes you'll get a better deal with Vevor. Sometimes you might get a better deal with Harbor Freight. But they're in that category that if you want a tool, I've got a auger for cleaning out drain lines. And I only use it every so often. So I got a cheap one. I've got a concrete mixer. I'm not buying the nicest, best concrete mixer that's ever been made. I'm going to get a cheap one because how often do I use it? I'm not a professional concrete guy. So for me, there are things where I buy premium. A cordless drill, I use a lot. A cordless driver, I get a more expensive brand because in my mind, it's a better product. Whether it is or not, I believe it to be. So I pay more because I use it a lot. With these other tools, I mean, I may use one of those tools twice a year. And I think it's better in my decision making. I've decided to buy it instead of rent it. But I might use it 3 or 4 times a year. Whatever the case may be, I just can't see paying a premium price for a premium product on that type of situation. So you're always making a decision. You know, most expensive, least expensive, and there's a gradient with all different ranges throughout that. Then you say best quality, worst quality. Now, here's the interesting thing. Is there anyone that's high up on the quality scale but low on the cost scale? And there's probably someone who's high on the cost scale and low on the quality scale. So you're looking for that best, the happy medium of someone who's giving you a good product at a good price. And maybe not be on either extreme. But everything I've got from Vevor did the exact job that I got it to do. And that's good enough for me. Now, I clearly have some incentive to say positive things about Vevor because they gave me the tool. And they're continuing to give me tools. But if I don't like it, I'm going to say I don't like it. And it's important to have integrity there. Because otherwise, what I say doesn't mean anything. So this conversation works no matter what you're talking about. So, like the truck video. My most watched video is about my truck breaking down. And I paid $83,000 for that truck. And I think it was a major mistake for me to spend that kind of money on a truck. I really was kicking myself from the time I ordered it all the way through. But I did it, and it is what it is. But when I was angry about that, it's because I felt like once I spent that money and it was brand new, nothing should go wrong for a period of time. And I felt like I was on the high end of the price scale and the low end of the quality scale. And that is a frustrating place to be. And so I made a video complaining, but then the warranty was handled properly. They fixed it in a reasonable period of time. They didn't hassle me. They didn't charge me anything. And I got my truck back, and I've had it back for a year and no more problems. So I came back after my first video showed me being upset. I came back and I followed it up by saying, hey, at this point, I no longer have a negative review on this truck. I have a negative review on my decision-making process at the time when I had a little bit more money coming in than I do now, and I made a poor decision, but I love that truck, and it is what it is. So the same thing can be said in the tractor market, which is where I talk about equipment more than anything else, is tractors. And I think whoever bought this John Deere A probably got their money out of it, especially if you amortize it over the life of it. It is 82 years old, and I can get on it right now and start it right up. And I think it's a well-made piece of equipment. Now you're looking at the market, and it's a lot different in terms of how things are made. And I wonder if any of the tractors being sold now will be in operation in 82 years. Because they have computers on them, and will anyone be willing or able to service your older tractor? Because unless there's like an aftermarket company that's providing replacement computer modules for a 2022 John Deere tractor like I have, 60 years from now, is there going to be a company I think they're all going to be thrown away. I think they're disposable, and that's really disappointing. Makes me wish that there would be a company who would make a tractor that didn't have a computer, didn't have any of the nice features, but was absolutely just built like a tank. And it wasn't as exciting as some of the new stuff, but you just knew that it was going to run forever and probably wouldn't cost as much. That would be pretty cool, but nobody's doing that. Everyone's trying to be on the front end of innovation. But when I look at the tractor market, I see the same thing. I see John Deere and Kubota are like your Milwaukee, and I know there's more premium stuff than Milwaukee. That's out of a homeowner stuff. Those are the premium brands. So John Deere and Kubota are premium brands in their own eyes, in their way they price. They're premium price. Now, we can all make our own judgment about where they fall on quality. Are you getting premium price for premium quality, or premium price for average quality or below average? And that's what we're all trying to find. Does one of these other brands, when you look at Coyote, LS, TYM, some of the newer brands to come out like a Summit, are these companies, or some of the older ones that maybe we don't think about, like a Mahindra, which is not as old in the U.S. market, but like a New Holland or a Massey Ferguson, or maybe some of those a better value where you're higher on the quality scale without going as high on the price scale. And that's the decision we're all trying to make. And it's a hard decision to make because there's a lot of variables. And it's hard to pick exactly comparable tractor models to compare, to say, oh, here, this TYM is cheaper than the John Deere, but that John Deere has this feature and that one. Or that's two random examples that it's hard to match up exact models that are the same size, same horsepower, same feature. What's the price difference? And then you've got to look at service and all those things. So we're looking for that. And like I go up to dealers and I say, okay, because a lot of the dealers sell multiple tractor brands on the same lot. And I go up and I say, hey, when you've got these three brands all sold on your lot, how do you advise the customer on which one that they should buy? And I love to ask that question and just see what they say. And, You know, sometimes they'll tell you that, like, it seems to me like these are pretty equal quality, but one of them costs less. And, you know, that's the point where you want to jump in. And this is just my personal opinion, but after only being in this market for 3 years now, but in those 3 years, I look every day at tractor reviews. I go around and I test drive different tractors, and I try to get all the information I can get, and I talk to people who've had this tractor and had a problem, and had this tractor and had a problem, or had the other one and didn't, and just take in all the information I can. I talk to the manufacturers, I talk to dealers, and I don't think I would buy a John Deere or a Kubota today. I'd be looking at one of these other brands that is 100% at a better price, and then trying to decide, do they match the quality or not? And a tractor is something, it's a major decision. I can't buy a tractor, say, well, this thing sucked, and then just buy a different one tomorrow. Where I could with a cordless drill, if I don't like that drill, I can buy another drill. And so I can go for the cheap brand on that. But on a tractor, you want to make the right decision the first time. And I think a lot of these brands that don't get as much publicity have a lot to offer. So, last comment I want to say is something I already touched on, and that is credibility of sponsored products. I try to only represent products that I would give a serious consideration to buying. And then, I just try to tell you the truth. And I don't care what you buy and what you don't buy. I just want to be a point of reference. I want to share my journey because I love what I do. I appreciate you guys taking time to watch this video. I'll put links on the screen to a couple more of our videos, and I'll see you next time.